10. Now, conversations about mental health, living situations, and sexuality can be difficult for lots of people, but especially young people. And a new app is set to be rolled out by Mind of My Own in conjunction with the States of Guernsey's Children's Services. And here to talk about it is account manager for Guernsey and Jersey, Melissa Hall, and chief executive of the company, Hunter Jones. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Hi, morning.
Now, I suppose, first of all, tell me a little bit about this app. Where did this idea first come from?
Well, it was a while ago, actually. So back in, it was nearly 10 years ago, maybe, but, 2015, 2016. The company was founded by Yvonne Anderson and Jill Thorburn. And there was some other, another founder as well at the time. And the idea is to, we know that children have their own voice. The idea is to just amplify that voice, really. So, we make digital participation tools that allow young people's voice to be heard and evidenced by, initially their social worker, if they're working with children's services, for example. But, now we've really spread it out and we work with a wide range of organizations that help children and young people develop.
So what does the app look like for a young person getting involved with it? What can they do on it?
Well, go on.
Mel, you go.
No, I was going to say there's a whole host of different scenarios that they can fill out. So one of our scenarios is my well-being, where it goes through, helping a child kind of focus on things, to get it off their chest. There's another scenario that kind of explores identity, their pronouns, their sexuality. So it just depends on kind of what different areas a child kind of wants to talk about at that time.
So where's the app being used now?
We actually work across the world with services across the world. So we have teams in New Zealand and Australia, as well as across Europe. In the UK, we work with around 80 local authorities, so children's services. And we work with around 500 other types of organizations like schools and fostering agencies and community-based support services as well. So it is being used really well. I think we've got hundreds of thousands of users of young people that are downloading the app and using it. So it's exciting to have the island of Guernsey coming on board as well.
Now, you've been in Jersey for the last 4 years or so. How has that all worked, and what's been the successes of that?
I'm the account manager for Jersey as well, and it's just helped children. The island communities are work differently to the rest of the UK, so it's just kind of helping those children feel more of the community, have access to their social worker who can help them with things that are going on, and it's a success in Jersey, and I'm sure it'll be a success here in Guernsey as well.
What have you noticed are the differences when it comes to somewhere like the Bailiwick of Guernsey, and Jersey? What's the different approach that you have to take?
It's more down to, we've heard from social workers saying, we're working with children that actually we could see in the supermarket because it's not actually that far away, and, the community that you kind of know. So, there's all these unique challenges that come along with working with an island community. But, there's just, ways around all of them, really.
Why did you guys first get involved with this? What was your reason for wanting to be a part of this app?
For me, it's all about tech for good, right? So I have worked previously in other software companies. And when I joined Mind of My Own about 6.5 years ago now, I was looking for a bit of a change and to shift towards something with a bit more of a purpose, which is, I think every single employee that we interview and that we hire say the same thing, really. It's all about making, designing a product and working with people who are really trying to make a significant change in people's lives. And, young people's lives especially can be really difficult. And so, that's the reason why I got into it. And I remember in the first year that I was here, we won, various Tech for Good awards. And even since then, every year we've been winning, awards based around Tech for Good and all kinds of things like that. So that's why I got into it. And I'm imagining that Mel might say the same thing if you asked her.
Yeah, very similar. I worked for Bernardo's about 10 years ago, working with children in the community, helping them, to get involved in like playing football and doing different things that I wouldn't necessarily do. But just so that, these children in the community actually felt like they had someone that they could open up to. I've also worked as on Duke of Edinburgh as a leader, helping children kind of, get out there, doing different things. So, I've kind of come from that background. And then, now I'm Mind of My Own doing it as well.
It's interesting, you use that phrase tech for good, because there's going to be some people thinking, well, hang on, actually social media, spending time on phones, screen time, it is a contributing factor to the mental health of young people, so is using tech to beat tech the right answer?
I think so. But I think, well, in a lot of cases, yeah, but I think, there's no replacement at all for a direct conversation with anybody, let alone a child. Definitely, if you're looking somebody in the eyes and meeting them and speaking to them, there's really no replacement to that kind of, relationship building. But it's about the in-between times, really. It's about the times when maybe, at the end of a day, you might, or, that child might have thought a little bit more about what happened in the playground, for example, and then, might find it hard to express that in a conversation with somebody. So, putting it down in an app. And, previously it might have been putting it down in a written journal, for example. So, putting it down in an app, getting everything out, and then having the ability to actually choose who you want to send that to, which workers you might trust or which adult in your life you might trust enough to send that information to is what it's all about. So there are some examples of where social media, really doesn't have a positive effect sometimes, but I think there's definitely a place for tech to try and win the day, kind of thing, if you know what I mean.
So what will the rollout process look like in Guernsey?
So I've just started to work with a couple of people from the children's services. So from there, our next part is to look at training. So we train, so there will be in-house champions who will understand how Mind of My Own works to kind of roll out across the rest of the workforce. And then involve obviously training, not training children, but actually like showing children how the app works so that they know how to do it in their own time. And it can also be used as a direct work tool with their social workers. So their social worker, they may have spoken to them loads of times and they may feel comfortable, but just actually getting it from the perspective of the child so that they can actually put it on the app and form part of their life story.
What has been some of the success stories from using this app?
We've got hundreds. Trying to think of just some that maybe we've heard this week. So there's one I've heard where a child has used one of our scenarios to explore their identity. So with their foster carer, they filled out that they were a she and they liked to be called this, the certain name. And then they did the same statement just a week later with their social worker, chose to completely different pronouns, completely different name, and said, this is who I am, but I'm not entirely sure how I can actually, tell my foster carer yet. Can you kind of help me? Can we look at that conversation that we can have? So that's just one I've got that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, every week, as Mel said, because we've got so many users, we hear stories coming in. I think the ones that really stick out to me are the ones that involve some kind of safeguarding action happening as well. So, we do hear all the time of children using Mind of My Own to say that they feel unsafe where they live, for example, or maybe they felt a bit scared at some point in the day or something like that. And so that's obviously quite a major thing for them, and it's amazing that they can share it in this way. But we also, get the other end of the spectrum where a child might use Mind of My Own to say that they didn't get a bike for Christmas or something like that, and it's troubling for them, but it's not so much of a safeguarding issue. And when we roll out Mind of My Own as well, we kind of try and help workers and help staff to understand which things to look out for. So, for example, there was a young girl, it was in Somerset, so in England, who was saying that, so she's about, I think she was about 12 years old, and she was saying she got a new social worker, and she was saying she didn't actually want a male social worker. And so she sent that in, and it was the social worker was great, really good worker, really nice and friendly. But just for her point, the situation that she was in, and the her age, she wanted a female, a female mentor and a female social worker. So that seems like quite a minor thing maybe on the surface, but actually, if that young girl started working with a male social worker, didn't say that she wasn't that comfortable, all these, it could have had a real domino effect later on down the line, whereby 1 year, 2 years later, she wouldn't have had some of the help that she felt she wanted. So it can, the different stories that come in can be really eye-opening, and that's part of the reason why we do what we do, really.
And who will be using this? What kind of services in Guernsey will be taking part in this?
So initially, the contract is with at the moment with the children's services. So that's where we're starting our rollout. And that means that all the young people that are using any part of children's services, whether they are a looked after child, whether they are living in a residential home or with a foster carer, for example, they will all have access. And we would then look to roll it out further than that. Definitely, we don't try and put any boundaries on it. So any schools, we would then move to community-based services, of course, and any schools as well would be able to come on board, and we'll be kind of slowly moving around the island.
Fabulous. And I suppose, what's the future for the app? Will you develop things? Will things progress over the next 5-10 years?
Yeah, I think this is one of the reasons why we've stayed so relevant as our app, because we co-produce all of our products with children and young people. So every single week we're speaking with children and young people across the world. And we're basically saying to them, what would you like this app to look like, whether it's all the way down to the coloring and the design and the wording, up to core features. And so, children and young people are the users of the apps. And so they are driving the decisions that we make in terms of the future of it. But so we run on a development cycle of every 6 weeks. Things are updating, things are changing. It keeps the apps really relevant, and there's no real saying where we'll go in the future, because that's just how we work, really. But we do have a pretty solid kind of roadmap of development for the next 12 months. We know what we're going to be doing, but beyond that, who knows, really.
Well, thank you so much for telling us just a little bit more about the app. The app going to be rolled out in Guernsey. It's called Mind of My Own. Going to be used by the States of Guernsey Children's Services. That was account manager for Guernsey and Jersey, Melissa Hall there, and chief executive of the company, Hunter Jones. Looking forward to finding out more about how that app works and how it progresses and helps young people here in the bailiwick of Guernsey.